Last night on the media, let's take a look at some of that.
In the event that we had a Republican president in 2024, that's where we'd be. We'd be at a, South America-style nationwide abortion ban in America.
Women are losing their rights in this country. We do not want to give individual states the autonomy to decide.
Pretty much the nightmare scenario, if you believe in the ultimate efficacy of the constitutional order.
It's just devastating to read.
So you're going to see a lot of opinions, but what Jonathan Turley just said is very important to understand what this decision means, what it means to let the states decide, and for voters to be able to have a say.
There are a few passages I think are very interesting. If true, again, this is written by Sam Alito back in February. They may have changed by now. Just one thing that I find fascinating. We do not pretend to know, he's writing, how our political system or society will respond to today's decision overruling Roe and Casey. Even if we could foresee what will happen, we would have no authority to let that knowledge influence our decision.
This is going to be a very personal episode for me. As you can see on screen, my family just went through the miracle of childbirth weeks ago. My newest daughter is 2 weeks old. I know from personal and deep experience over the last few months and weeks exactly how the miracle of life transpires. I have a personal commitment to the knowledge that is the miracle of life. I got to tell you, watching this decision last night, which was a bombshell decision, I was not expecting a bombshell decision, the Supreme Court striking down Roe v. Wade, reportedly in a leaked document that we will get to, giving the chance for life to millions of unborn babies. 50 to 60 million are the estimates of children who have lost their lives to the evil and satanic practice of abortion in the most wrongly decided and made out of whole cloth Supreme Court decision ever in American history. My family rejoiced. My wife and I rejoiced. It was 10 p.m. at night. I just read the ruling, and it was incredible. The ruling didn't leave a matchstick unscorched in its 40 years of plague on this country. The curse of abortion has taken enough lives, and I stand here as a father of 2, and hopefully more someday, to tell you that yes, these babies deserve life. And I don't care what situation is involved. I don't care where or how or when this baby was conceived. The child is innocent. The child is a miracle from God. God himself. And the miracle of life is real. And as somebody who's recently experienced it, let me tell you, these babies are no longer, or could never ever, in this current stage, the lie that a child is a clump of cells has been so utterly and thoroughly disproven by science that we could not bear on this show even repeating the lie. In fact, we've taken a moment this morning to walk through exactly how a child develops and exactly what the stages of development are in a child, because I think it's worth walking through the months of development and what is actually happening as this miracle and spark of life grows, as my child did with my wife. This is what was happening in month 1. In the first few weeks, a primitive face will take form, and large circles will appear as eyes. Mouth, lower jaw, and throat will be developed. Blood cells are taking shape, and circulation will begin. A teeny heartbeat will begin beating 65 times a minute at the end of the 4th week. In month 2, a neural tube and brain and spinal cord are developing. The central nervous system is developed, well formed, And digestive tract and sensory organs will begin to develop too. Bones start to replace cartilage. In month 3 of a child's life in utero, all organs and limbs and extremities are present and will continue to develop in order to become functional. The circulation and urinary systems are also working, and the liver is producing. Month 4 of a child's life, and the nervous system is starting to function, and reproductive organs and genitalia are now fully developed. Your doctor can see on an ultrasound whether your child will be a boy or a girl. Month 5 in the fetus's development, a muscle and muscles begin to form. The child begins to exercise those muscles. The first movements are quickening, and you can feel them like a flutter. Hair begins to grow on the child's head and shoulders and back and temples. It's covered in a soft, fine hair. In month 6, fingers and toe prints are visible on your child. In this stage, eyelids begin to part and the eyes can open. The fetus can see. The child can see. It responds to sounds and moving and increasing of the pulse. You can notice a jerking motion when your child is getting the hiccups. In month 6, your baby can survive outside of the womb. There are miracles of science that can keep your child alive outside of the womb in month 6 of its development. And those children grow up and are secure and safe and developed. And it is a miracle once more. Month 7, the fetus continues to mature and develop reserves of body fat. At this point, hearing is fully developed. The fetus changes positions quickly and responds to stimuli, including sound and pain and light. In month 8, the brain is developing rapidly at this time, and the fetus can see and hear. Most internal systems are well developed, and the lungs may begin to breathe. That's right, your child is breathing at month 8. Month 9, the fetus is coordinated in its reflexes and can blink. It can close its eyes and turn its head, grasp firmly, and respond to sound and light and touch. Ladies and gentlemen, if Roe is overturned, it means that we have had 50 years of subservience to a cooked-up legal fiction which greenlighted the mass murder of 60,000 Americans. These are children. The left is releasing a demon scream to continue the wholesale slaughter of developed who at the 3rd month in the first trimester have a working nervous system and circulatory system and urinary system and can open their eyes. They have sensory organs and bones. You can see on the screen now a photo, incredible 4D ultrasound of my child in the 5th month, in her 5th month of development in utero. So look at the toes, the fingers, the face, the little mouth, her nose. You can see her eyes. To say that this is a clump of cells is a satanic lie. It is a demonic act to harm or hurt this child who can feel pain extremely young. You see here in month 2, the neural tube, the brain stem is developed. That means that the child can feel pain in the 2nd month of their life. It doesn't stop the monsters of the left from wholesale charging towards the elimination of children and babies online, as they have done for decades now. We give you the mastermind behind Planned Parenthood, the goblin herself, Margaret Sanger, who said that she believes that the greatest sin of humanity is bringing children unto the world who may be unwanted. Please listen and be horrified. This is the godmother of abortion in America, in her own words.
Do you believe in sin? When I say believe, I don't mean to believe in committing sin. Do you believe there is such a thing as sin?
Well, I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit.
But sin in the ordinary sense that we regard it, do you believe or do you not believe?
Well, what would they be?
Do you believe that infidelity is a sin?
Well, I'm not going to specify what I think is sin. I've stated what I think is the worst sin. The
Yes,
greatest sin.
but then you asked me to say what, and I said what, and you refused to answer me?
Yes, I don't know about infidelity. It has so many personalities to it, and what a person's own belief is. You can't, I couldn't generalize any of those things.
The greatest sin is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents or have no chance in the world of being a human being. Practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things. Just marked when they're born. These are the words of Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, a goblin, a demonic presence in our country, someone who is truly the core of evil. The harming of children and the hurting of children, you cannot get more satanic than that. It comes all the way from the scriptures. It comes from the ancient child sacrifices of the heathens. It comes from the darkest place in human existence. These people who are advocating now on behalf of the wholesale slaughter of children are indeed and 100% on the wrong, wickedest side of history and demonic activity possible. You hear in their own words that they do not believe babies are human beings. You heard the author and creator of Planned Parenthood say that children who are unwanted should be killed because they have no value. That would come as a shock to various famous orphans or people who were unwanted by their parents, like, I don't know, Steve Jobs, someone who the left wants to hold up as a idealized leftist, his wife, shockingly, his widow, giving enormous amounts of money to Planned Parenthood in one of the sickest acts. Steve Jobs himself was an orphan. My mother-in-law was an orphan. I would have never been able to meet my wife were it not for loving parents who adopted her, a child who would be called by Margaret Sanger unwanted. This is truly evil, and it shows the central planning of the left. Their idea that you, a human being, could be something that is just controlled by the state, someone who is simply a vassal of the state. You are just a blob of cells. It doesn't matter if you're in the womb or if you're out of the womb. You are a clump of cells to be controlled. If you are unwanted by the state or unnecessary to the state, like in communist China or in Nazi Germany or in Soviet Russia, well, then you can simply be done away with. You're an inconvenience. This is the shot through evil, banality of evil on the left and the banality of evil of a group of people who are truly and utterly sick and have been struck down in one of the greatest justices done by our Supreme Court in my lifetime yesterday in a leaked Supreme Court ruling that said Roe v. Wade, a landmark decision to legalize abortion in the United States, will be reversed. The news sent shockwaves through Washington, D.C. as Democrats vowing to codify the legal rights to an abortion in law as Republicans demanding an investigation into the leak. The leak itself, ladies and gentlemen, where did it come from? The purpose of this leak is indeed to intimidate, to push, to scare, and to instill fear inside of the conservative justices who, according to this majority ruling, have decided to strike down Roe v. Wade. SCOTUS blog says the document leaked to Politico is almost certainly authentic draft opinion by Alito, and it reflects what he believes at least 5 members of the court have voted to support, overruling Roe. But Alito's draft does not reflect the comments or reaction of the justices. SCOTUS blog is one of our favorite blogs and has been dutifully and faithfully covering the court. We trust them empirically. SCOTUS blog said it is impossible to overstate the earthquake that will be caused inside the court in terms of the destruction of trust among the justices and staff. The leak is the gravest, most unforgivable sin. It is indeed. This leak is an attempt by the wicked communist members of the court, the woke, the progressives, the 20-somethings who care not for institutions, care merely for power. And a communist must have power to control your life. We say often that the litmus test, the Rorschach blot test of an authoritarian, a communist, an evil person is whether they believe that they have control over you. Do you wish to have control over another human being? That is the question at hand. If you wish to have control over another human being, whether it be an unborn child or a living person, then you are evil. You are a descendant of the most evil ideology that strikes through slavery, that strikes through mass incarceration, that strikes through enslavement of human beings, that strikes through the concentration camps of Nazi Germany or the work camps of the Soviet Union, that strikes through the great leap forward of Mao's China. If you believe that human beings are inconvenient and can be done away with and are clumps of cells that can be ground under the boot of the state, then you are on the darkest, most evil side of history. It seems as though a member of the Supreme Court, potentially a clerk, maybe a justice themselves, but potentially a clerk, leaked this decision in order to create a legislative backlash. The reporter that wrote this up was on Rachel Maddow's show, of all shows, immediately afterwards. They did not choose to go onto a news show that may have potentially been seen by most Americans as more reasonable, rational, or grounded. They chose to go on one of the most far-left punditry talk shows in America. That tells you everything you need to know about this leak. It's designed in order to push an agenda. They lost, and so now they must elicit their own pound of flesh. They must get their result. They must use this moment and hopefully the rage that they wish to elicit from this moment in order to get their result. Their result would be, and Bernie Sanders has said this, the elimination of the filibuster and the packing of the court. SCOTUS blog says this: Will the outrage among the supporters of Roe, reflected in the massive amount of written commentary on every detail of the Alito draft majority opinion in the coming weeks, become the ultimate crowdsourced draft dissent? No. We do not believe that Kavanaugh or Amy Coney Barrett or Alito or Clarence Thomas or Neil Gorsuch, who were the five who defended a child's right to live in America and struck down the worst ruling in Supreme Court history that led to the wholesale slaughter of 60 million Americans, innocent lives who deserved a shot at life because all lives matter. Ladies and gentlemen, we do not believe that they will be changing their opinions. That means that Roe v. Wade will be struck down. Hopefully, the person who leaked this in order to create this backlash, and now you're seeing all of the usual suspects, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, everyone sounding off. Chuck Schumer was on the floor of the Senate moments ago giving a speech about eliminating the filibuster and packing the court. You're seeing the wholesale demonic scream from the pit of hell from the left in order to protect child sacrifice. Hopefully, they will not be able to protect themselves from the FBI, as Justice John Roberts minutes ago confirmed the authenticity of the draft order and said that it will not be creating an environment where the Supreme Court will be threatened or bullied. John Roberts, of course, himself being the person who opened the door for being bullied by the left, siding with Barack Obama in the Obamacare case that should have been struck down. They should have struck down Obamacare. John Roberts, somebody who is regularly and consistently sided with the left wing of the court, broke with his own rank. He was appointed by George W. Bush in order to create consensus and to keep the court on the side of the cultural left, in order to keep the rage of the New York Times headlines or the Washington Post headlines from reaching the doors of the court. Well, the rage is there now. John Roberts saying that he's going to sic the court-martial on figuring out who leaked this. There are reports that the FBI may be involved, and we hope that the person who leaked this is indeed brought to justice and that they get disbarred and that they get imprisoned. The left will scream day and night about threats to our democracy, yet when an institution goes about its constitutional duty to decide a case, and they weaponize, the left internally weaponizes and leaks from inside of that institution in order to harm the justices and bring harm upon the heads of these justices, because everybody knows how mentally ill and fascistic the left is now. Everybody is aware of what these people can do. We have witnessed the last 4 years of extreme mental illness and fascistic threatening sometimes leading actually to murder. People forget that they were trying to murder Kyle Rittenhouse, that they murdered MAGA supporters in Portland. They killed them. This should bring full-time, 24/7 security to the homes of all justices on the Supreme Court. No one should be harassed. Everyone should be allowed to do their jobs. Many of these justices have family. What's interesting is that garrisons went up immediately around the Supreme Court, barricaded last night, and mobs begin to show up at the Supreme Court screaming and yelling because of course they will. We have clips of the protesters. You can see last night that these people were not happy to get their ability to sacrifice children to Moloch taken from them. Watch.
This means that states will be able to...
We were personally there when the rabble and the mob staged an insurrection. Oh, you forgot about the insurrection of the left against the court? When Kavanaugh was confirmed to the court, the left stormed the doors like rabid monsters and slammed on the doors of the Supreme Court trying to break in. Check this out. You, of course, forgot about it because it's been memory holed by the media. They would never play something or make an issue out of something that brought them power. We were there that night. I used to live not far from the Supreme Court. I stood there at the Supreme Court watching and filming. We have lots of footage we're going to go through and bring you some of the insanity of the left. The last time that the Supreme Court decided against them, Kavanaugh was put on the court. These people are so single-minded and so able to have the computer chip taken out of the back of their head and replaced with something. So now you're going to see the COVID chip was taken out and replaced with Ukraine, and the Ukraine chip has been taken out and replaced now with Roe v. Wade, and this is going to be their stance into the midterms. Joe Biden is already saying that he's going to fight the Supreme Court ruling, which is insane. It's the Supreme Court. Their ruling is final. The president can do nothing about it. The full satanic energy of the left will be unleashed on the court and its members when this ruling is decided. And if indeed Roe falls, expect these people to go insane. Here are some of their responses from last night.
What's your first reaction to the decision being leaked?
I was really upset because hippity hoppity, women aren't property.
All the people here, all the people you've seen here tonight is evident of the passion.
There's a lot of disappointment.
This is a draft. I think people are taking it maybe a little too seriously right now, and maybe things could change.
I am glad to see that the Supreme Court is returning to constitutionality.
It's just fucking wackish.
Also, a very special video from last night that hit our social media feed was a group of pretentious, spoiled, rich kids who undoubtedly attend George Washington University. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We have a staff member named Danny who attends George Washington University, but ladies and gentlemen, these kids who are attending the richest and wealthiest and most expensive schools in America are indeed not hurting. They are sitting in front of the Supreme Court and they are chanting, "My body, my choice." The interesting thing is that if we were to look through all of their social media feeds, these are the exact same kids who would have been for vaccine mandates, vaccines for 6-year-olds, masking 2-year-olds, forced mask mandates, and work to vax mandates. Vax to work mandates. These are the same people who would have been on the side of the regime when it came to controlling the medicine that can be put into your body. The duality is so broken. That's why we talk about the computer chip, because they have no truth. This is the same group of people who are using the term birthing person, yet talking about women's rights. They can't define what a woman is, but they are going to defend their lives, the right for a woman to kill her unborn child. They can't talk about when life begins. They have no concept of the modern science and the miracle that is modern science, as we read to you, the stages of child development. They think a baby is a clump of cells. They refuse that science, but will say trust the science if Dr. Fauci tells them to bend over one more time for a CDC suppository. These people are broken. They are indeed broken individuals, and it is them who are wrecking the country with their duality inside of their brains. They have no consistent truth. And that makes for a very, very unhappy life for these people. And it's why they are sitting outside of the Supreme Court talking all manner of nonsense. Justice Alito is about to drop a truth nuke into the middle of their sad, little miserable lives, stating in his draft opinion, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, which was the draft opinion that was circulated among the media members and the members of the court yesterday. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, he continues in the document, opinion of the court. It's time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people in their elected representatives. What you'll find interesting is that the same people that scream about protecting democracy will be so filled with blood red rage at the fact that people will be able to vote for their own abortion rights. So what that will create is a world of a Civil War style world. And what does that mean? Am I calling for civil war? No, the left is actually calling for civil war this morning. I'm not calling for civil war. What I'm saying is that you're going to have free states and slave states again. That's what's going to happen. And the slave states, as ever, are going to be Democrat states. States where there is high taxation, no human rights, the rampant, diseased crime, and a broken morality. And you're going to have once more Democrat states who have now shifted to the New Yorks and the Californias. Those are going to be the states that are going to have people fleeing them because nobody's going to want to live inside of an abortion state. You're going to have an abortion state and then you're going to have life states. And it's going to be wonderful, actually. And people are going to migrate to life states because they want to defend life and because inside of your soul, you know that an innocent, small child, whether it is born or unborn at this moment, has value. All good and moral and decent people know that. Have you ever held a baby and looked into its eyes? What kind of a sick monster wishes to harm that child? Goodness, it gets my blood boiling. I get emotional. I become at a loss of words when I think about it. Think about my own child, Juliet. She's 2 weeks old, and Samuel Alito, God bless him, has ruled in my child's favor. The draft document is not final, but has led to speculation that the draft was leaked in order to create public outrage. Of course it was. It did indeed accomplish that by naming Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett as all deciding to strike down the ruling. Justice Roberts may join with that group we have yet to see. The dissenter, of course, the 3 liberal justices, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan. Draft opinions can change, and they're not final until they are published. But if the Alito draft is adopted, it would rule in favor of Mississippi in the Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, a case involving the state's attempt to ban most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. Florida just passed a very similar bill. It was 16 weeks of pregnancy, and God bless. Now, once the draft is circulated, the justices in dissent will write an opinion. That's probably happening now. This is all an attempt in order to rig and create outrage. It's a terrorism plot. This is what this is. This is what we're facing right now. Bernie Sanders had this to say about it, using this moment in order to strike down the filibuster. Bernie said, Congress must pass legislation that codifies what we made in the land of the country now. And if there weren't 60 votes in the Senate, we must end the filibuster and pass it with 50 votes. That's what Bernie Sanders says from one of his 3 mansions. Bernie Sanders, once more, couldn't tell you what a woman is, couldn't answer the question whether a child feels pain, couldn't tell you whether at what stage a child is viable outside the womb. Bernie Sanders would refer to a baby as a clump of cells. But here he is sending this tweet from, again, probably his lake house mansion, like the good socialist that he is. Democrats are calling now for Joe Biden to also pack the Supreme Court. Here's Morning Joe this morning.
Republicans have so politicized this process that I fully expect Democrats, when they have the opportunity, to do what Washington did and what Adams did and what Jefferson did and what Andrew Jackson did and what Abraham Lincoln did and what Republicans did after Lincoln died, and change the size of the court. I mean, it's again, if precedent doesn't matter constitutionally, well, then certainly political precedent won't matter. So they'll just do what founding fathers and Abraham Lincoln and Andrew Jackson and Republicans after Lincoln's death did. They'll just expand the size of the court.
Remember, these people are the ones who told you that Joe Biden was an institutionalist, that Joe Biden would defend our American institutions. Joe Biden hasn't said a single thing about the coordinated leak to the press and the manufacturing of outrage over a decision that hasn't even been decided yet. I have been covering politics for 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. This is the same team that goes immediately calling for the packing of the court, the ending of the filibuster, and then the destruction of court norms. It is impossible to state how evil it is that this decision was leaked. It's never happened before. It's done for politics by a vicious communist that sees nothing but power. The only role for these people are to assume further power unto themselves, and they are screaming now. Because Elon Musk owns Twitter. Because Kyle Rittenhouse walks free. Jussie Smollett went to jail. CNN Plus is destroyed. CNN was sold to Discovery for parts. They're watching their ratings collapse. The #1 highest rated show for Democrats in the key demo is actually Tucker Carlson. They're losing the narrative. They're losing control. They're losing power. John Durham is investigating Hillary Clinton. Huge developments there. We'll cover it tomorrow. And indeed, Hunter Biden is being indicted, and the Bidens are being investigated by federal courts and grand juries in the state of Delaware. They're losing. Roe v. Wade now overturned. They're losing power. They're going to panic, and they're going to do things that will be rash and that will be irrational. And they're going to try and harm this country, because if they can't control it, they'll wish to destroy it. And you're seeing a whole lot of that now. How much of all this happening is because of Hillary Clinton? It's a really great question. How much of the panic attack that we're working through right now in this country from the left is because they have not gotten over the fact that Hillary Clinton lost? If you want to talk about duality, if you want to talk about holding two thoughts in your own mind at the same time, the banality of pure, unadulterated evil, it is indeed Hillary Clinton walking around maskless at the Met Gala last night as a black staffer attends to her gown. That's right. I think we probably have the image for you. Here we go. There you go. There's men of color sitting there and fluffing and grooming the princess, the Queen Hillary, the Queen herself, of Russian disinformation, of slander and libel and destruction of norms in our country. Hillary Clinton there, sitting there at the Met Gala as this news breaks. There's something beautiful about it. My wife and I were talking about it this morning. Something kind of beautiful that they were all stuck inside this fancy pants gala, locked in a room, while Roe v. Wade was announced destroyed. There's something just beautiful about it. Them inside of their little bubble, getting their sacred sacraments ripped from them. It is indeed something that we are very, very happy happened, and we are very, very excited to see that Hillary Clinton, the newest one on the docket to have somebody in a mask, a servant class in a mask, be fluffing and moving about her dress, ladies and gentlemen. And if you need a further image of how the left sees modern America, this should suffice. This is how the left sees you. You are the masked servant, and they are the elite. They are the egalitarian class that does not need to mask, and you are supposed to sit there and bask in their glory. And what we're seeing now is the Great Awakening, where we are saying, no, you people are trash. Your garbage and your morals and your so-called worldview is leading to the wholesale slaughter of children, the destruction of our border, the destruction of our currency, the destruction of our nation, our sovereignty, our safety, our security. It may be spiraling us towards nuclear war. You and your neoliberal colleagues and your globalist scum at the World Economic Forum and across this planet are the most loathsome and reptilian group of people we have ever seen, and we are sick of you. We will no longer show up at your rallies. We will not donate to you, and we are going to create something new. We're going to collapse this diseased temple down upon your heads that you have created, and we're going to make something better. That's what Elon Musk is saying. That's what we're saying, and we're sticking to it. According to Breitbart, former Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton went maskless in the 2022 Met Gala on Monday night. A masked black staffer attended to her lengthy train in a shivering evening gown. Are you getting the vibes of Versailles? Are you getting the vibes of the Hunger Games? This is exactly what's happening. An unmasked staffer is the latest example in which the help, often a person of color, are masked while wealthy liberals prance around in their draconian coronavirus restrictions without having to wear masks in elite celebrations. We have an image from Dr. Fauci over the weekend, White House Correspondents' Day dinner, where Dr. Fauci was sitting there photographed alongside Don Lemon, we believe, as masked staffers once again stood there waiting to serve them. Ladies and gentlemen, slavery. They wish to bring back the context of master versus slave. The context is that they don't need to answer for anything, and all of us must bow our heads and serve them. And on this show, we say no. That's because on this show, we have our priorities rights. Americans have a eternal right to life and liberty and pursuit of happiness. It is ensconced in our founding document, not because that document has any value, but because our Creator has value. Our Creator created us. They created the newest little baby, and they created the oldest person. Both have dignity, and we were born with that dignity. And these monsters wish to take it away. They always have tried to take it away, whether it be a gulag or a concentration camp or a great leap forward, whether it be the prisons of Washington, D.C., which hold without bail patriots right now in this country, whether it be the silencing of your voice online. It doesn't matter. They always are wishing to dehumanize and to scourge the earth for their own power. They want to strip mine this country and degrade what it means to be an American. They want to degrade life itself. These people are indeed the banality of evil. Demonic screams come from them when they cannot kill wholesale millions of children. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're on their side, I deeply encourage you to reconsider. It is not the right side of history. We're on the right side of history because we have our priorities right on this show. God, family, country. We were born free men and women, and we have a right to life, a right to liberty, and a right to a pursuit of happiness given to us by our Creator. God bless you. Thank you for watching today. We'll be at Mar-a-Lago tomorrow for the 2000 Mules movie premiere. We look forward to bringing you lots of updates from that, and we'll be guest hosting Eric Bolling's show on Newsmax all week. Please tune in. My name is Benny Johnson. Thank you for watching The Benny Show.